Welcome to the Kentucky History Channel, where we strive to bring you all the Kentucky history content you want and you deserve. Kentucky is a part of all of us, and we plan on covering all the history we can, from Pike County to Fulton County, from Louisville to Harlan. Here on our YouTube channel, you can find many videos dedicated to different events, people, governors, and places in Kentucky. There's something for everybody. While you're here, if you like the channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification button so you get notified anytime new Kentucky history is available. And if you want to support the channel, we have a Patreon page as well, or patreon.com/kyhistorypod. You've probably heard about Daniel Boone, but what about the rest of the frontiersmen who came to Kentucky and settled? That's what we want to bring to the Kentucky History Channel. The stories of the untold, the stories of those forgotten. One thing to expect on our channel is great Kentucky content. Some stories that you've never heard of. The Night Riders, who began in western Kentucky. Bloody Monday, the riots in Louisville. The assassination of Governor Goebel, the only governor ever assassinated in the United States. Stories from all over Kentucky, stories that are unforgettable once you've heard them. You can find out who counties in Kentucky are named after and how your county got started. From beginning to end, we plan to document every county in Kentucky, all 120. Reach out to us on all of our social media platforms. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also leave a comment on one of our YouTube videos. You can also check out our podcast episodes. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many more. Welcome back to the Kentucky History Podcast. I'm your host, Jameson Cable, and I'm here with Savannah Warren of the Kentucky Room at the Daviess County Public Library. Ms. Warren, or Savannah, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Well, thanks for joining us. It's been an honor. This is our last little interview discussion of the day, if you want to call it that. But I do want to say, thank you again for the Kentucky Room. If you are ever in Daviess County, this is the place to come if you enjoy Kentucky history and all that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm a bit partial, maybe biased a little bit, I guess. Anyway, we are on Facebook and YouTube and the Daviess County Public Library Facebook as well. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the our YouTube channel, Kentucky History Channel, and like our Facebook page as well. Trying to get as much Kentucky history out there as possible. Like I said before, I always want to talk about the person's connection to Kentucky. So, Savannah, what is your connection to Kentucky?
Well, I was born here in Owensboro, raised in the west end of the county in Sargo. Mm-hmm. The Warren side of my family has been here for a long time. They were part of the Maryland to Kentucky Catholics. Oh, okay, yeah. So cool. That part's been here. The other side of my family, the Shepherds, came from Germany down to gotcha. Ohio. So yeah. The Warren side's been here a long time, and born and raised. Went to high school here. And
remain here as well. Yeah. Well, that's the Kentucky tradition is about it. My family's been, I live 2-3 miles from where I grew up. My family's been there for ages. I don't know. Some of them came from Germany. Some of them came from England. That's just the way it goes. Let's talk a little bit about Owensboro, Daviess County history, not Daviess, right? That I know that's a typo, misspelling, right?
His name was Joseph Hamilton Daviess. It's Daviess, but when they were doing the paperwork to make the county, they spelled it differently. And I think there's 3 different counties in the United States that are named after him, and they're all spelled the same way.
That is terrible. Why aren't people checking their clerical work?
I think they passed a law later on that basically either spelling would work. You could use it on documents. So.
No, and my thought is once they figured out that it was misspelled, why didn't they go back and say, okay,
I don't know.
Let's just flip those vowels around? That'd been a little bit easier.
They must have done it on purpose.
Which there is actually, and it's leaving me, and I should know this, but there is another county in Kentucky that is misspelled, but I cannot think of it right off the top of my head. And there's 120 of them, so I'm not going to try to name them all right here. Anyway, so Daviess County, Joseph Hamilton Daviess, which is very important person for Kentucky history as well. We did a video on him on our YouTube channel. If you want to get more in-depth history of him, where I do mispronounce his name as Daviess.
It happens all the time. It's like Frederica.
Yeah. Well, and the best rule of thumb is pronounce things the way the locals pronounce it, because that's the best way to not get in trouble. In Muhlenberg County, they will get on to you if you use a U instead of an E. Somebody got on to me for that. Sorry, I misspelled it. But anyway, he was important. He died in the Battle of Tippecanoe. He was involved in the Hamilton or the Byrd trial of treason and all that kind of stuff, which people may not know was a pretty big deal in Kentucky because that all the trial and stuff happened. You had Henry Clay. That's an episode on its own. But,
he was a lawyer, orator. He owned, I want to say, like 50,000 acres. Wow. A lot of land. I don't know the exact off the top of my head. A lot of land here, right around when Daviess County was formed, a little before, and he actually represented Kentucky or Owensboro's this area's first settler in a murder trial.
Wow, that's
got him off. So,
so he's innocent.
Smothers,
he's innocent.
Smothers, yeah.
Okay, which it's one of those very rare things. Like whenever I go back and look at what county this county is named after, many of them are about Revolutionary War heroes. So you can imagine that Benjamin Lincoln never set foot in Lincoln County. Marquis de Lafayette, he did actually come to Kentucky. He's a rare one. But you don't find too many counties that are actually named after somebody who was here and lived here, and that's Daviess County is one of the few. There's about a handful, honestly. I think
he lived here for about 3 years,
and owning a bunch of land and helping the founder get off of murder. I guess he's earned his county name. Before all that, though, I believe if we want to get into like Native Americans, Shawnee was in this area as well. There's a bunch. You could say probably Chickasaw. Cherokee were more eastern Kentucky, so not as much there, but there were definitely settlers before.
This Frederica right out here was a buffalo trail.
Okay.
There was a lot down in Hartford. There was a fort, and that's where a lot of people settled, and they would come up here and follow the trail to Yellow Banks.
There you go, which we're going to get into right now. The first European descendants was William. Say the last name again.
Smothers.
Smothers.
Smothers. It kind of depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, and that was in 1797. So pretty.
Hartford was basically too populated for him. He wanted to get away from everybody, so he came out here to be by himself. And
sounds a bit like Daniel Boone. It did not want to be around anybody. But it's originally named Yellow Banks. Why Yellow Banks? That's
for this reason right here. This is the color of the soil, and as people were coming down the Ohio River, there was an area where kind of like a safe harbor in this area, and the banks were all yellow, and it was just point that you could point to and say, stop there, it's safe. The banks are yellow. It just ended up being called Yellow Banks, and it was known for a good place to stop. And then by the time Bill Smothers had his cabin there, it was right on the river, and people come up and they'd talk to him for the day.
And it grew from there.
Grew from there.
Is his cabin still there? Is it?
No, it's right where the VFW is. There was a ravine right there, and it was basically right on that spot where the VFW is.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things. If you can find a place, the person who settled in Mount Vernon, Kentucky, his cabin, it was there for a long time, but then eventually they just go to waste. And unless they have something that's helping sustain them, they'll all eventually go. So as far as like Daviess County, Owensboro history, anything specific you'd like to mention, I guess, as far as the founding, I guess, settling, besides what we've already mentioned?
I mean, it was 1815 for the county, 1817 for Owensboro.
Mm-hmm.
Owensboro was named Rossboro for just a few days, and then
Rossboro? Okay.
Yeah, it was Rossboro. That's what they wanted to name it.
Yeah.
And then when they sent in the paperwork, I think the people in Frankfurt said no to it, and then they wanted to name it after Abraham Owen.
Oh, okay. So any
Battle of Tippecanoe.
Yeah, any idea why Rossboro?
I forget the guy's name. He was only it was just a local guy, and they wanted to name it after him, and then they just said no.
No, come on, Frankfurt. That'd be so cool to be Rossboro.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other Rossboros. But they did change the spelling to Owensboro to they dropped the UGH for.
I think that happened to a lot of places. It was Borough.
Yeah. Too many letters, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know the reason for that, but so let's talk about the Kentucky Room here. I got to say, one of the nicer Kentucky rooms I've been in. It is massive. If you want to think about that, in Lincoln County, the library there is great. It's a very good library, but the Kentucky Room is, I'm gonna say, maybe a fifth the size of this one.
I think we're, if not we're one of the biggest library affiliated Kentucky rooms, research rooms in the state. I'm not sure who's the biggest, but we're one of the top three, I think.
Yeah, I would say, I would imagine so, which, I mean, Owensboro is the fourth largest city in Kentucky. That would make a bit of sense as well. I would think Lexington and Louisville would probably have some pretty big libraries. So I mean, but anything in here that really sticks out to you? What's your favorite thing in the Kentucky Room?
I'm gonna say probably the thing I use the most, and I always like looking at, is the 1876 Atlas. It shows you all the different areas of the county. It has plot lines and everybody's name, who owned what piece of land during that time, and in the back it has sketches of different places around town, like the courthouse, and has Cornland, which Joseph Hamilton Davis owned, and the old jail, and just a lot of really neat sketches. We use it just all the time to find out where things were in the county. You can kind of see how roads were named. If you see a certain road named after a person, you can go back to that and be like, oh, well,
that person
they owned that land there.
Yeah. They recently were renaming some of the roads there locally in Lincoln County, and they asked, there's 5 people who lived on this road, and they said, do you want us to name this road after you? And eventually they all said no, and so it became Brushy Creek Road, or they just something like that. But that's how it goes. And speaking of roads, the main street is always the road that leads to the next town. If you think about, for my example, Lincoln County, Stanford, one of the roads there is Danville Street. Well, Danville is the next town over, so that road goes there. Or Lancaster Street. Anyway. I'm from Central Kentucky, so that probably makes sense to nobody here. But what sets the Daviess County Public Library apart from the rest of, or not public library, Kentucky Room, I guess? Just
other than being
volume.
The largest, we do have a pretty large collection. I know we're open the same hours as the library, so I know a lot of other research rooms have limited hours. They have limited staff. We're very lucky that we have a staff of 5 people. We're here open as long as the library is, and we do research for free. And we've been actually really busy lately. So
that's good.
A lot of people are wanting to get out and get research and know more history. So
that's good. That's exactly what the podcast and so forth is trying to get out that history. I'm definitely a book nerd. What is the coolest Kentucky Room book you got in here?
Everybody, when we give tours and stuff, everybody likes to look at the Sanborn maps, because they're this
that's
big,
what I went to.
It draws people to it. But we have 4 of them, I think, and they were made in 1910, and they're fire insurance maps, and you you flip through it. You're pulling the cover back like this, and that's the one everybody goes to.
Yeah. Well, that's the one I went to, and which if you go to the Library of Congress, you can Google stuff, and they'll have those.
They have a couple
digitized.
of their other years.
But that's actually one of the first ones I've seen in person. That's like so it's really cool. If you want to know what a sandburn right? Sandborn map looks like, Google it, and, or come here and you'll be able to see it here. So, as I said, I'm from Central Kentucky. I live right there in Lincoln, Rockcastle. If somebody was come to Daviess County, Owensboro, history-wise, in the area, what would you recommend for them to see, barring the museum we just with
I was gonna say the museum definitely. Kind of history. We have a tree right next to us. It's the largest sassafras tree in the world.
Cool. Well, it's even cooler.
That's always a cool thing. It's it has some history associated with it. I'd always tell people to come in here. We have quite a bit. There's the Bluegrass Museum.
Oh yeah,
International
that's right.
Bluegrass Music History Museum. It's really good. It's great.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, bluegrass music is awesome, but
and it's relatively new, so it's all kinds of stuff going on there all the time. Yeah. Our downtown has quite a few historic buildings. We actually have a little pamphlet where you can
tour,
you can walk, do a little tour, self-guided tour. So we have all kinds of different buildings and houses and things like that.
Yeah. Which of the is it Bill Monroe homestead is just a little bit south.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the sign. I can't remember exactly, but it's
Ohio County.
Yeah, it's really close. So that makes sense. I mean, the city's been here since 1797. So there's a lot of I shouldn't say city, but settlements. Have been here for a long time. So by far, there's going to be a lot of history around. Anything else before we sign off that you would like to mention, history related or just Kentucky Room related?
I mean, we have a Facebook. If you need some research, you want to contact us. We do a lot of genealogy. We have a very large genealogy section. Local history. We do some history research for some of the surrounding counties also. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be just Daviess County. Yeah. But we can contact our Facebook page, or you can call us or the library.
Now, you all have your own Kentucky Room Facebook page separate from the library Facebook page.
Yes, we do.
Which is pretty cool. And I think I've shared a few posts on there, so you all can check that out. Is there another? You can't check out everything though, right? There are off-limited stuff.
Nothing in here checks out. It's a closed collection because a lot of our books are rare and out of print, and something happens to them, you can't find them again. You have to come in here and hang out until you get done reading that book. So if it's a big book, you're gonna have to stay for a while. Yeah, but if you're just looking for something small, you can send us what you need and we can send it to you. Yeah. Well, Savannah, thank you for coming on the podcast. For those people who are watching this online, a podcast version will be out in a few weeks on our typical Sunday time, and video will be uploaded again onto YouTube. I want to say again, thanks to Bob as well for hooking us all up and getting us going. It's been fun. If anybody out there wants to host or have the Kentucky History Podcast live at their place, just get in contact with us on Facebook, Twitter. I mean, all the social media stuff. Just type in Kentucky History Podcast, and we'll probably pop up first. So again, thanks everybody for watching today, and thanks for having us, and we'll see y'all next time. Welcome to the Kentucky History Channel, where we strive to bring you all the Kentucky history content you want and you deserve. Kentucky is a part of all of us, and we plan on covering all the history we can, from Pike County to Fulton County, from Louisville to Harlan. Here on our YouTube channel, you can find many videos dedicated to different events, people, governors, and places in Kentucky. There's something for everybody. While you're here, if you like the channel, hit the subscribe button
and the notification button so you get notified anytime new Kentucky history is available. And if you want to support the channel, we have a Patreon page as well, or patreon.com/kyhistorypod. You've probably heard about Daniel Boone, but what about the rest of the frontiersmen who came to Kentucky and settled? That's what we want to bring to the Kentucky History Channel. The stories of the untold, the stories of those forgotten. One thing to expect on our channel is great Kentucky content. Some stories that you've never heard of. The Night Riders, who began in western Kentucky. Bloody Monday, the riots in Louisville. The assassination of Governor Goebel, the only governor ever assassinated in the United States. Stories from all over Kentucky, stories that are unforgettable once you've heard them. You can find out who counties in Kentucky are named after and how your county got started. From beginning to end, we plan to document every county in Kentucky, all 120. Reach out to us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also leave a comment on one of our YouTube videos. You can also check out our podcast episodes. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many more. We're always seeking to find more Kentucky history so we can bring it to you, the viewers, the listeners. We want all the stories and all the events from Kentucky's great history to be told and shared everywhere.